Hi, I'm Jennifer Podemsky, and I wanted to just give you a little bit of an insight to us as Native people. We don't love land acknowledgements. We don't love listening to them, and we usually don't present them in our own ceremonies or gatherings. So I wanted to offer something special, and that is an action item that will amplify your work as an ally and bring more attention to the work that I'm doing at the Shine Network, which is a not-for-profit organization serving Indigenous women in the screen sector. So we've created a course, the first one of its kind in the world. It's a cultural sensitivity course for the Canadian screen sector, and it's available for free at theshinenetwork.ca. It's called PACT, and I would love for you to take it. And that's my land acknowledgement. This is an actionable way you can showcase your allyship.
Hey Firecrackers, it's Naomi and welcome to the Firecracker Department. All right, we have a really special show today because typically, as you know, I chat with firecrackers from all around the world. But today, because we've recently launched our new chapters, Firecracker chapters, in Calgary and Vancouver, we are starting to have co-hosts from those areas. So today I have not only our guest, Veena Sood, but also the one and only Jody Quine as my co-host. So I'm really, really thrilled to share them with you. A little bit of background. In September, we had 3 different Firecracker Department brunch parties. One we had during TIFF in Toronto, and then we had one during VIFF, which is the Vancouver International Film Festival in Vancouver, and then we had one during CIFF, Calgary International Film Festival. And each of these parties had a Blaze Award winner. So in Toronto, it went to Alana Harkin. In Calgary, it went to Susan Sorreo. And in Vancouver, it went to Veena Sood. So I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with not only Veena, but Jody, and to share 2 remarkable artists from the Vancouver community that I know you'll fall in love with as much as I do. So let's chat with Jody, and then we'll chat with Veena. Here we go. This is super exciting, Jody, because it's our very first Vancouver Firecracker Department co-host podcast.
Oh, I'm so honored to be the one.
I'm thrilled that you're the one and only Jody Quine.
Me too.
So now, and for folks that don't know you, like your background is in acting, improv, and music.
Yeah.
And I did read like your international recognition is around projects like, now I'm going to have trouble with this, but like Sleep Thief.
Yeah.
And Balagomingo?
Balagomingo.
Tell me about those 2 projects.
Well, they're both based in the US, but they both, like with Balagomingo, we had a worldwide record deal with BMG, and I Billboard charted with that. And then we did really well in Australia and the UK. And Sleep Thief also has quite a following internationally as well. And they're ambient electronic pop. Basically, when electronica kind of became actual song structure.
Yeah.
Some people consider Balagomingo to be one of the forefathers of EDM because they remixed us in the clubs.
Nice.
Yeah, 2000.
Wow. I know it doesn't, but doesn't 2000 feel like yesterday?
Yeah, it really was 5 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Nuts.
Just.
Nuts.
So it was great. It was a great breakthrough. It was a great opportunity, vocally to kind of spread into the world. At the time, I was releasing a solo record, and Justin, who does Sleep Thief, wrote a review of my solo record because he was a fan of my Balagomingo work. And then he said, I'd like to do some music. Would you be interested? And so I actually think I discovered him because once I signed on, then with Kirsty Hawkshaw, who's a huge name in electronica, and Shelley Harland, and just Fidel, and just amazing international top-lining, ambient vocalists all got on board. So I'm like, I discovered Justin.
Yeah, no, you heard it here. This is where
That's right.
This is factual right here. But Jody, how do you like balance? Like, I think there's a lot of folks in the listenership. Is that a word? I'm going to say it is listenership.
I like it.
But that like have many different facets of art, like with your improv, with your acting, with your creation, with your music. Like, how do you balance it? And do you just wake up every morning and go, I feel like doing this part of my art today? Like, how do you do it?
Yeah, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Like a long time ago, and I have kids, right? So that's my primary focus is their balance. And then a long time ago, I think I was listening to Abraham Hicks, and it was just, she was talking about inspired action. And so I started living my life that way in regards to laundry or dishes or, what I want to make
What
for
do you
dinner.
mean inspired? Because I don't think laundry as,
Well,
is
I
as
wouldn't
inspiring as some
know,
people might think it is.
but I wouldn't do the laundry until my body said, I feel like doing laundry now. So,
Oh,
I mean, sometimes it stacks up, but you would
yeah.
actually be surprised how your body goes, oh yeah, I'd like some clean clothes. So let's do that.
Yeah,
So
right, right.
trusting when I started listening to when my body said, it's time to do this thing.
I love
And
that.
it was kind of a challenging learning curve. But now it's at a point where, it's like, oh damn, I need to play piano. Oh my God, I have to, read that Stella Adler book. Like just
Yeah.
whatever. So yeah, it is. I feel like doing this
Do you know
today.
what? I love what you're saying. My mom used to say that all the time. She'd be like, listen to your body. What is your body saying? Like, and I think more often, like, we're so not listening to our body, not listening to our gut about things, because we
Yeah.
have all these apps that tell us how we're feeling and how our heart rate is and everything like that, as opposed to checking and be like, actually, I don't feel great. What do I need to shift? So
Yeah.
I had never thought about it with like chores.
Yours.
I mean,
But they do
although
kick in. They do kick in.
I have a
You'd be
husband that might be
surprised.
like, I think you should feel like doing the laundry today. I think that you
Yeah.
should like inspire yourself to do it. I was like, yeah, it's
Well,
my
that's true too.
turn.
I mean, that sometimes there are just, like I have to drive the kids to school even if I don't feel like it.
Yeah, right. No
You
kidding.
know,
I don't feel
or
like it.
change a diaper back when they were young. But
Yeah.
not that I was leading by inspiration. I think they were about toddlers when I started like listening to what my body was saying.
Yeah.
So, and then
I
of
love
course
that.
putting it in. Yeah, yeah. And I think too, like I also, I don't know, 20 years ago, maybe longer, how many times do you hear your birthright is joy and optimal potential? Like we have this birthright. So I was like, all right, well, if that's true, let's see. And
Yeah.
so I've just kind of slowly been leaning into if that's true, how can I care for myself to live that life?
Yeah.
Um, and that means listening to my body and my
I love
intuition
that.
and inspiration. So,
So let's like just focus a little bit because like I mean we also need to have like a full hour discussion because
right, right.
this is just
Sorry.
you being introduced as a co-host, but no,
Yeah,
I want to talk
yeah,
longer. Stay tuned, folks, for a podcast in the future. But I want to just tilt this a little bit because we have
yeah.
this special guest today that I know you're super jazzed about, and I know we'll
Yeah,
talk about improv with her as
so
well.
excited.
But can you give me a little bit of background? Well, hold on a second. What I'll say first is that we, I mean, it's Veena Sood. That's what I'll say
Yeah,
first.
I
Okay,
mean,
so excited.
yeah,
But
yes.
the reason we're having this podcast is not only because she's a fantastic human being and artist, but we give the Blaze Award every year in Toronto to somebody who's just killing it on many different levels and spinning a lot of plates. And so when we launched our chapters in Calgary and Vancouver, we did the same here. So you nominated Veena, and
Yeah.
so I'm thrilled that you can be part of this discussion. Give me a little bit of background about with you and Veena.
Well, I started at Loose Moose Theater. She'd already graduated into Canadian Big Time. And so I knew who she was.
Hmm.
And we have a close friend in common, Roman Danilo. And so he would often do things with her, or she'd come up, and Ellie Harvey knows her well back in the day for sure. So her name would come up, and I'd always be like, oh, wow, like I'm amongst the coolest because
Yes,
they're in
yes,
Venus Circle. And so then
yes,
one day I went to watch Ellie's son play hockey, and Veena and her wife showed up too. And I was like, oh my God, there she is. And she
yes.
knew who I was. And I
Yeah,
was very moved and freaked out. But anyway, so we don't live far from each other. And over the years, we started hiking together. And, I'll hang out with her and her wife, or just her wife, or just her. And we just have become little community friends. And
amazing.
yeah, they're so dear to me, her and Jill. And and she's so smart and supportive and such a kind friend. I don't think she's got time for more, everybody. Just me.
No, no, just
She's
she's
a
done
very
with
busy
friends.
lady.
No more friends.
Yeah, she's
Friends are
tapped
cut
out.
off.
No, but she's just an amazing person to know, and I'm so thankful that she's developed this relationship with me. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get cracking into our discussion with Veena Sood.
exciting. Hi, Vita.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Jody. Hi, Naomi.
Oh my gosh. This is honestly like, we started this podcast 6 years ago, and it is still my favorite thing to have a reason to hang out with folks like you for an hour. It's such a delight, and we wouldn't do it otherwise. We'd come into cities, or we just wouldn't have this kind of time. So feel really
I know.
grateful.
Good
This
point.
one of the best things about the pandemic, really, this whole Zoom thing.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's good. It's good.
yeah.
It's so great to see you guys. Look at
So
you.
good to see you.
Happy birthday. Veena's birthday was last week.
I know. Did you have so much fun?
Well, it's now where I'm tired of all that. Like, I had the best day. We didn't do anything, which,
My kind of
think
birthday.
about when was the last time you woke up and you didn't have to be somewhere or make phone calls or do a
Yeah.
million like homework shit.
Yeah.
I set it up that was my day and it was just great.
Yeah.
But now I'm paying for that. I'm just doing all this catch up and then various friends, oh, well, we have to get together and I'm happy to, but it's like we went to restaurants now 3 times this week and I'm done.
Yeah. What's your ideal kind of day?
Where I don't have to do anything, but what I choose to, I love to be outside. So where
Yeah.
I get some space and time to just be outside, whether it be a bike ride or a hike or something. And then figure out the day after that, like not have a planned thing after that, like where I come home from that outing and then decide. But you
Yeah.
can't
See
do
what
that.
comes.
Yeah, you can't really do that with people. You can't just say, okay, now on my terms, do you want to go for coffee right now?
I've met you for coffee there.
Yeah. And it feels like you can do that in Vancouver. Vancouver
You
people.
can a bit better. You
Yeah.
can, actually.
But I do want to point out, Naomi, that she doesn't just like to be outside.
Okay.
They literally chop her to the top of mountains to
Oh,
hike.
What?
Yeah, they
What?
chop her. Yeah,
That's
to
our summer
mountaintops
holiday thing.
and hike. You've done
What
it
are you
like
talking about? So you go to the top of mountain and like pole hiking it?
No, there's all these backcountry lodges in the Rockies that used to be strictly for helicopter skiing. And then all these lodges thought, well, how can we cash in on this revenue in the summer? So what they do is and these are not fancy like ski lodges, rustic, but they have beds and showers and toilets.
I mean, that's
And
fancy to me.
yeah, and they
Yeah.
have great food and they helicopter you up. There's nobody, there's no trails, you're off the grid, there's no internet, and you just do these day hikes. And I call it mountain walking. It's not real hard. It's because you're already at the top. And you are like unbelievable vistas. And Jill and I, that's our every year I've done these since I was 16, either on horseback or now helicopter
What?
or walking.
now helicopter.
Well, it's because I'm getting older. I can't
Yeah.
do
I've
it.
actually hiked up hills with Veena, and she's so much faster than me. And
Oh no, I'm
you
Jody.
are.
Very
You
kind.
are. You're more than
We're gonna
10
need
years
some
older
video
than
proof next time.
I am. Okay, I'll find some.
I want to ask a little because this is the first time we're doing like a co-host. It's the first time we're sort of celebrating the new Vancouver chapter. But give me a little snippet of how you two know each other, Veena.
Well, Jody, we didn't know each other. We're from Loose Moose, both of us, but I'd say 15 years apart. So we didn't know each other from back then. So Jody, I think you sought me out in Vancouver. Oh God, I'm so embarrassed. There's probably some big significant event that I'm not
Yeah,
even
how can you not remember? The first time we met.
Okay,
It was
tell me.
accidental. It was accidental, actually. But Ellie's son was playing hockey, and we were both went to watch her son play hockey.
That's right.
Yeah. So I did seek you out across her lap. Oh my God, Veena, hi, I'm Jody.
Right. Yeah, you're right. We wandered into the hockey arena because we saw online on Facebook that Ellie Harvey was watching her son play hockey. And that was right across the street from where we were in that moment that I looked at my phone. So we thought, let's go in. Let's go into the hockey arena.
That's so
I love
fun.
that. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But then, of course, many, many memories since of us creating moments. Yeah.
But I think that's sort of a testament to like, as you get older, it's not about the numbers of friends, it's about the quality of friends. And I don't know about you, but I kind of went like, these are the people I need around me. Do you
Yeah.
know, like to help me along my way.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was mentoring a younger actress and she was in her 30s and she was having a bad day. And she goes, I hardly even have any friends. And she was really struggling. And I'm like, well, how many friends do you have? She goes, I have only four. And I went, that's tons.
That's
Yeah,
tons.
a
If they're
lot.
good quality for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm sure she had a lot more, but in that moment, that's all she felt she had.
Yeah. I want to go back a little bit and talk about your career because I mean people will know you from Children Ruin Everything and from Loose Moose. There's so many, it feels like you have shifted the ship in so many ways with your career, and those are only two small credits. But has your idea, like when you started your career, because you weren't born in Canada.
No, I was born in East Africa, in Nairobi, Kenya, of all
Yeah.
places.
And so while you're in Nairobi, are you like, I'm gonna be an actor one day? Was that even in your brain?
No, no, well, see, we immigrated when I was like 6 or 7 years old. That's
Yeah.
when we came to Canada because that was no place to raise a family. My father knew that. And no, I had no, in fact, because we immigrated, they accelerated me. They don't do that anymore. So I was like 6 years old in grade three. And that meant I was 16 when I graduated high school.
Wow.
And of course, the pressure was on.
Mhm.
And I remember, okay, I'm going to get very personal. I remember lying in bed around 14 years old, praying to God. And I'm not religious, but I think I am very spiritual. But at that age, going, I don't know what to do when I grow up. At 14, I was going to be going into grade 11. And I had to know what I was going to do with my life by grade 12 at 14. And so I'd lie awake at night. And then honestly, it came to me like, it sounds cheesy, the falling. It was like not a clap of thunder, but it may as well have been, where I literally went to sleep one night and woke up fully knowing, with a fully formed knowing of what I wanted to do with my life. And fully formed meaning I knew what I had to do to achieve that. Like I had to go to a proper drama school or theater training. I had to learn, I would have had to eventually get an A. Like I knew what to do.
How? Like that to me is like like for 14, I was collecting stickers at 14.
Oh,
I was
believe me,
just about like, how do I get the bubble gum? How do I get the bubble gum scratch and sniff?
I
Yeah.
totally understand. And that was still going on in my life. There was still the child, very much so, but the answer came. It was a gift. These are
Yeah, that is.
things that, and I kept it secret. I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want to be made fun of. And I certainly couldn't have told my family at the time because they would have wanted me to be a lawyer or a doctor, immigrant family and all.
And not just play one on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I did a sort of a good
You did
second.
it. You did it. Yeah.
Well, what's amazing too is at the same time, the conspiring of the universe had Keith Johnstone moving to Canada to teach theater at U of C. And the chances of having like that brain available in Calgary,
No
Alberta
kidding.
is like shocking. So at 16,
Yeah,
she's in university with Keith
I know.
Johnstone.
I know.
Crazy.
I know that, and that's given me a lifelong faith in knowing when the alignment is correct, the universe will conspire to give you the gifts you're asking for. We just have to vibrationally align ourselves to create that to happen. And of course, that's easier said than done, but
It's a muscle.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
practice. And I do believe that that is how life presents itself.
Yeah. So I want to tap into what Jody's talking about with the Keith Johnstone chapter because I mean we're taking a huge jump. You had this idea at 14 and then you met Keith at 16?
Yeah,
Holy
yeah.
crap. That's extraordinary. Out of all the people of all of the places, can you tell us a little bit about that time in your life?
Well, yeah, at being so young, I didn't have the courage or desire to move to another city and go to university. I mean, what would you do at 16? Bye, mom and dad, I'm off to Toronto or wherever. So I thought, okay, uh, I want to do theater. The deal with the parents was, okay, then you must go to university because they're from that thinking that if you have a degree, you'll get a job.
Right.
So I thought, yeah, okay, I'll go to university. I was a child. I needed to still live at home. and not be out on my own. So going to university was great. I didn't have Keith in my very first year, but I chose to have him based on all the rave reviews the other students gave me about him from my second year onwards. And he changed my life. So first day of school with Keith, Keith sat on the floor. He always did things like that to make himself lower in status, to make us believe we were higher in status, therefore to make us more comfortable. He had all these tricks. And he made me feel incredibly comfortable for being a little bit of an outsider and a misfit and not what I thought you had to be like to be a good actor. And it was just so much fun. It was effortless and fun, and improv just felt right, and you were rewarded for your failure. And that is what was so fabulous. To be bad or wrong or incorrect didn't mean you were not talented. It meant you'd learned something. So for Keith to teach me the concept of failure is okay, and that to learn how to fail good-naturedly would serve me, so that you don't go away from a class where maybe you had some struggle. You don't go away from it thinking you suck and you're untalented and your self-esteem takes a dive. We already had enough of that inside all of us.
Right.
We didn't need more of that. And so, yeah, I studied with Keith till the day he passed, really till a year and a half ago.
Wow.
And I know once you said to me too on one of our walks that he would cast you in parts that were usually for young white men. And so you never saw yourself as anything different, that anything was possible.
I didn't know I was brown in terms of the way theater and casting would see me. I didn't know that till I started working professionally.
Huh.
So I would be in all these plays just because Keith thought I had the right, personality that might suit the role. I didn't realize that casting was so based on your physical appearance in the professional world. So I got to experience all this range of work that I don't know if a lot of young actors would have gotten that amazing gift.
Mm-hmm.
I took it all for granted. Like when people would say, these are the best years of your life, you're like, oh yeah, right. I hope not. And they really were.
Yeah.
Those were truly the good old days. And then, out of that, we invented this format called theater sports. And,
that was your team that invented theater sports.
There were 7 of us.
Tell me a little bit about that, because this is crucial to my upbringing. This discussion is because I remember watching Keith Johnstone. I worked with him just a tiny bit, but of course, all of it reverberates into every improviser. And so I kind of pour over the quotes and the video bits that he has posted or have come from different Keith Johnstone, people and students. But tell me about the time of the invention of theater sports.
So there was a group of us in Keith's acting class, and it was just one of those classes where it was a really strong group of people. It was just luck. Some years you don't have a great group dynamic. This was one of those years. Everybody was strong. And so we learned very quickly, and it really inspired Keith. So he decided he wanted to start an improvisational theater group. So he invited 7 of us to partake in this seminal formation of this group. So he had to do it outside of university. So he invited us all one by one to his home for a cup of tea to talk about this. And of course, I was like, yeah, sure. I don't know. Okay. Once again, taking over.
I mean, there's not a lot of choices in Calgary. It was an easy choice.
True.
Yeah. So I said, yeah, that'd be great. And so unlike what you can do today, we would meet once a week in Keith's basement. Can you imagine?
Can you imagine now? Oh my gosh.
Mom, I'm going over to this professor's basement and
have a nice time.
There'd be no way. Anyway, so we did that, and we had a fantastic year of meeting in his basement and taking things a little further than we would in our acting class.
And even further, like depth?
No, the kind of exercises he taught us were not necessarily to make you good actors. They were make you to be good improvisers. Because when he was a professor at university, there was a certain kind of curriculum he did have to kind of an honor. And this was a little outside that and a little bit more experimental. And of course, that made us develop much more quickly. And we started doing these secret improv shows in the basement of the university drama department and making it sound like, well, you don't want to go and it's secret and you don't really think you're going to like it, which of course the reverse psychology, everybody wanted to check it out and it became very popular. So then we got a theater company in a building called the Pump House. And the Pump House was an old pumping station on the banks of the Bow River in Calgary. There wasn't a theater, but we put bleachers in and a carpet and started doing improvisation shows. And in that time, we came up, Keith was fascinated by the fact that why do Canadians and British people from, which is where he's from, go to sporting events in masses, but they can't stand going to theater. So through the work with our group, and the guys in our group were all hockey fans, they said, well, if you do it for points, if you put a scene on stage and award points, maybe that'll generate some kind of thing. And then it did. All of a sudden, people who had trouble being vocally strong, if they knew they were going to get awarded a point for a good scene,
right.
They were much stronger, like the competitive nature would kick in. And then apparently I have very little recollection of this. Apparently I came up with the idea one day of, well, what if we had 3 people like figure skating judges judge and award these points? Who's giving this point to people? So I showed up in some, this is Keith, dominatrix outfit one day, as any 17-year-old's access to what that meant was, meaning tights, boots, and a whip. And I thought, well, I'm going to wear this and be a judge. And Keith just thought this was fabulous, of course. Mm-hmm. And we ended up having judges and we awarded points, and this became theater sports.
Yeah.
I'm sure many actors, including you guys, have had that time in your life where you're like, I'm gonna change the world.
Yeah.
And that's important, that strength and conviction in your life. That is an important passion to make sure you maintain that spirit. But like we actually kind of did.
Yeah, man. Yes.
Yes, it's my operating system. Keith is my operating system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
The whip got put aside.
Yeah.
The whip actually through the judges, but judging is very important. I think our fellow improvisers guiding us, because when we're constantly being led by applause from the audience, we make crap. But when when we're developing through the idea of other improvisers who we admire, who understands how a scene should feel, not just how to press the laugh button. Very important addition to the world at Veena. Well done.
Well, yeah, it's like of course you can go on stage and fart and pick your nose and the audience will reward you with laughter, but it doesn't mean.
Will they? I mean, I'll do my best next time I'm on stage, but it feels like they are not on board with that.
You're right. I've had many, many, many times where it's just died a sad death.
Well, that's how we got better, right? Because failure wasn't so bad.
No, you just go, oh, okay, well, that sucked. Onwards.
I Googled something and I couldn't find it, but I'm pretty sure you told me that you had your own show on CBC for a season called Veena.
No,
but you had your own show.
I was co-host of a women's talk show. This was pre The View, but it was sort of like The View, called In the Company of Women.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, but I don't think I ever had my own show.
Isn't that how you got out of Calgary, or you went to LA next?
I moved to LA to make.
Okay, so you went from Calgary. You didn't even go to one of the cities in Canada, like Toronto, Vancouver. You're like right to LA.
Well, in my divine intervention when I was 14, I thought I must move to LA. This is where one must go. And you got to remember, this is the 80s. This is before production came to Canada.
Right.
There was nothing going on. There was the Beachcombers, that was it. And a couple of other shows. So you really had the choice of going to Toronto for theater And maybe there might be the odd film TV thing, but really there wasn't much
That's
else.
right.
So I moved to LA and realized how much I disliked Los Angeles.
How long
And
did that take you to realize that?
well, about 6 months. And then after that, my ego couldn't bring me to admit it didn't work out and come home. So I hung in there for 2 more years.
Wow, that's a
Yeah,
long time. Yeah.
it was. And I was young. I was now at the ripe old age of 22 living in LA.
Wow.
So, I had fun, but it wasn't, I had come from such a prolific, artistically wonderful life here in Canada. And then to sit in LA and wait for the phone to ring and take some acting
Right.
classes. And most of the people in those classes were so not the kind of people I could relate to. And I also, I can say this, I didn't like the United States. I didn't like it. I didn't
Mhm.
like it. Wasn't, I had no idea what a different mentality it was, even back then. Those were during the Reagan years. Even back then, I knew this is not my people.
Mhm.
A lot of beautiful, wonderful things that come from that country and some wonderful people and brilliant minds. But generally, living in the city of Los Angeles was just not for me.
And I know that, yeah, improvising in Calgary was such a generous community. For me, I grew up in and started at 16 as well. It was just a generous place of experimentation and like pushing the envelope and discovering who we were as
Yeah.
creators. And so I know when you go to the machine of Los Angeles, as it hopefully to be just a little cog in the machine, there's no experimentation or wonderful excitement there.
Mhm.
It's
So
what you look like. And of course, someone who looked like me, that was not going to be on anyone's radar. I was so outside the circle of anybody that could get a work. I had no green card. I don't know what I was thinking. I worked in a bookstore and thought one day I'll get discovered. Like I was really young and naive.
we all go
But
through that phase, I
I
think.
got I got something very important out of my system at a young age.
Yeah.
So that was really great. But yeah, Loose Moose was the place for the outcasts and the misfits.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel that with improv. I mean, we're just a bunch of wonderful weirdos like in improv world, but it is like the best group of people to be a part of because it is like a place for mistakes to be embraced
Yeah.
and for no matter what the package is.
Yes.
Like I step in an improv and I'm like the tallest, skinniest, funniest, prettiest, youngest. I could be whatever we want to be
Yeah.
Yes.
because it's all within you. So
And
I love that.
I feel like I could go to any city that has sort of an improv community and plug in.
Yep, agreed.
I certainly feel that with Toronto. And I haven't done much of that outside of Canada, other than a few other cities, but I've always felt so welcomed.
Yeah.
I did a show with someone I'd met for the first time, right? I was cast with someone I'd met for the first time. And I love the fact that the first time you're meeting someone, it's like, hi, yes, okay, how can I help? And then
Yeah.
you spend the evening just supporting each other's ideas. And what
Yeah.
a wonderful way to meet someone.
I know. No wonder we all fall in love with improvisers.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was thinking, like a first date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if this is like a little bubble for you in Calgary that you then get burst in Los Angeles, did like was there times where you're like, oh, this is too much? Because I think Los Angeles can take it out of you a little bit. But did you ever think this is too much, or did you ever think just I got to get out of here and get back to my roots?
I got to get out of here and get back to my roots.
Mhm.
It was a lot down there for sure, but I was so young and resilient and hopeful. So I wasn't as overwhelmed as if I went now. Oh my God, if I went now, I don't even think I could do it. I know I couldn't.
You could. You'd be hiking all the time. You'd find your people. You would. You're resilient as a human being.
Well,
So
I suppose you might, yeah, one has to just keep moving forward. But what happened was when I moved back to Calgary after LA, I had heard that they were making movies in Vancouver.
right.
I also heard there's this Vancouver Theater Sports League where they pay you to do improv. Like they paid you $30 a show. And to me, that was like, what? So I made a little trip out to Vancouver during Expo, and that was 1986. And I looked at this amazingly beautiful city that had mountains. Like, oh my God, I could have all this and act too.
Right.
That's when I said, I'm here. And the Vancouver Theater Sports League, as you guys were both just saying, a community of improvisers. Right away was welcomed. Right away had a place to be on stage 5 nights a week without having any other acting connections. Right away had a community, a tribe, friends. And it couldn't have been more welcoming to make this my new home. And it was
Mhm.
close enough to Calgary where I still didn't feel too far away. That's always been important to me. Because I know there were factions of Loose Moosers that also went to Toronto. The Kids in the Hall group,
Yep.
Rebecca Northern, and all that generation, they all went that way. But Toronto didn't have mountains.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So yeah, I mean Toronto, it was tempting because I think that's where really Toronto is more the center in terms of all of this, right?
Hmm.
In our community. But the family connection to staying close to the proximity to my family was really important to me. I was just so young still.
Yeah.
Well, so then I do love the story too, where Veena did start doing film and television acting in Vancouver, and she was cast as now was it just an extra or a featured extra on The Accused with Jodie Foster?
I don't know what the category was, but I had no lines.
Right.
And I was supposed to be this nurse that is taking photographs of her bruises in the hospital after she's been raped. I mean, I'm thinking back.
Horrible. Horrible.
Yeah. So I come on set and I'm just out of my mind with crush. I had this massive crush. I mean, I was
Who
also
doesn't? Who didn't? Who doesn't?
and I hadn't dealt with my own sexuality yet. I mean, I knew I was gay, but God forbid I'd come out back then. Well, another thing I didn't feel comfortable
Right.
being open about.
Oh.
So now I'm in the room with Jodie Foster, and the director was he looked like a biker from a Hells Angels biker. He had a beard and a leather jacket, and he was tough, and he had long hair, and he swore a lot, and he came from that era of directing where you could be kind of a jerk on set, but he was super nice to me. And he asked me to take this Polaroid camera and when the woman who did have lines is asking Jody about things, lift up your gown, we want to look at the bruises, blah, blah, blah. Can you take pictures of the bruises? And I'm like, okay. So now I can't believe I'm gonna, Jody, I apologize now for revealing this, but don't worry, those pictures are gone. So Jody and I'm taking pictures of Jody, and there's not much underneath her gown. You know, she really wanted to be authentic with what she was doing in that room. And I'm taking pictures of her inner thighs, and there's photographs being shot out of this Polaroid camera. And I said to the director, I got all these pictures. What do I do with them? He goes, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Keep them in your pocket, and we'll make sure to get them from you at the end of the day. Great. I'm pocketing all these pictures, this take, that angle, this angle. And it became not just the one day, it became like 4 or 5 days because then they wanted the nurse in the courtroom and they wanted the nurse in the background here. And it became a character with a couple of lines. And then it became a character with a lot more lines. And then it became Jody and I having a bit of a connection. And of course, I'm just going out of my mind with,
Of course.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
gosh. I'm going out of my mind just hearing the story and
It's
thinking
pretty
about this.
cool, right?
Yes. Okay.
and then so anyway, finally I'm wrapped after the day with all the photographs and the Polaroids, and I had pocketed them into the nurse's smock. And I go back to my trailer, I'm wrapped. And then I realized, oh my God, I forgot to give away the pictures. I forgot to return them. So I kept them.
I mean,
Better you than somewhere else. You're the
Well,
only
and
ones
I
that
kept
can
them
see
for
them.
years. And of course, now, 20 years later, they're dissolved and faded, and I've disposed of them. But I had some pretty intimate pictures of Jodie Foster for like a good 10, 15 years.
but I mean, other than, I was going to say, like, what did that teach you other than your sexuality? But like, where did that take you? Because it did start out as a small role. And also, like, the learning curve working on a set with somebody like Jodie Foster, where did that take you?
It made me realize this isn't way out there in the
Yeah,
ether. It's not way far away, which is, I think, a normal feeling. Like it's so far away in your mind to be able to be a part of that that that's just something that might not happen for decades. It was that in my brain,
Yeah.
decades.
Right. And here it was.
Yeah, then the director and we hit it off, and I invited him to come and watch the improv at the Vancouver Theatre Sports League, and he came. He came a couple of times and brought people. But it's so fascinating. And of course I got a little full of myself on that set. I was so
I mean, look at your life though. Like, I don't blame you for having like a little bit of an inflated ego, but how do we deal with that at that
Right.
time? At what
Right.
age?
now I would have been 23,
Yeah,
22.
like a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually about 25 by then. Yeah, I was a baby. And then of course, when you're really insecure, as I was, you get a big ego because that's overcompensating. And I
Yeah.
remember the president of 20th Century Fox at that time was an executive named Sherry Lansing.
Mm.
And she was on set, and I had no idea who she was, but I was like, who's this woman who's on set giving advice? She's not the director. She's so annoying. Like 2 weeks later, I find out who it was. I'm like, oh my
Oh
God.
my gosh.
Your 5 lines with super powerful Veena with her 5 lines.
Yeah. Just nobody. I am somebody.
Yeah, right.
Look how fast I'm climbing this tree.
I mean, at the president of 20th Century Fox. Oh my
I
God.
know.
There is.
Back
You
then,
know, and there's a story too that Jill told me once about the women of Marwin when you were on with Robert Zemeckis in the courtroom.
yeah.
There's this scene where, and this is what I find, and this is a question actually I have for you based on this alone, is that, as I recall, you were the one who decided that the judge's chair should go falling back. Like you just did that on your own. So your legs are in the air, shaking from
Yeah,
the.
it was a really, well, I guess maybe this is the improv.
For sure it is, for sure. Because you're saying yes to impulses.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I have found myself, just before I tell you the story, where because it's such a big set and big movie stars and big money, you get these impulses, you go, maybe I
Right.
won't. And I
All the
regret
time. That
Right.
happens for me all the time now, though. Like with the experience, I still go, "Nah, I don't know if I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to take things off track. I don't want to experiment with time. There's no
Yeah.
time."
Yeah, exactly. But it was a scene where there was a shootout, and it's in a courtroom, and I'm the judge, and there was a tone of comedy to this scene, so it could afford something. So I asked one of the stunt kind of coordinators who's right there, and I said, when he shoots, can you pull my chair back? And then I'll stick my feet up in the air. And we tried it in a rehearsal, and Robert Zemeckis thought it was great. So we tweaked it a bit, and it stayed in the movie. That was a fun little bit.
Yeah.
What has me curious, because, you know, knowing you on a social level as I do, you're like really grounded and thoughtful, and you've got such a good heart. But then, you know, you showed us an example of you like coming out of your cage to be a character. And so I guess my question would be is what is comedy to you? Like, what is comedy to you?
Well, I think it has to be completely what you said, grounded and truthful.
Mhm.
Mm.
I think that's where we laugh out of recognition. That's why it's so universal. When I laugh at something, it's usually out of recognition of, oh, I get that. I recognize that.
Mhm.
I'd say
Because
that's
you're so funny. Like your ability to take a scene or a moment and flavor it in your unique way for that laughter, I think is just so delightful when in real life you're just really normal.
I don't, you know what? There's so
Really
many,
lovely and normal.
Jody, there are so many improvisers who are just so funny in real life. Like you just go for a walk and you
Mhm.
whole
Oh my
time.
God, we're the best. Yeah, the
I
best.
am I am not that person. I am not going to keep you laughing. I'm kind of serious and more
You
older.
get it, you see it. And so I think that I do love that dichotomy in you and that it's so, you know, you're just so sincere and honest, but then you also know, but you're also, even as an improviser, you have a certain depth and sincerity to your work that I think brings richness to any laugh as well, which I think is a very important element.
Well, I think the closest I get to being a funny person is I'm a little bit sarcastic in real life. If I'm comfortable with somebody, I'll be like kind of darkly so, where some people
Yeah.
don't like because people just want a
Oh,
little.
it's still funny because it's never rude. It's just always like, wow, how'd you come up with that? Like funny.
But yeah, well, thank you. But I'm not like, oh, Veena, let's go for a walk. I'll laugh the whole time when I'm with her. I'm so not like
I
that.
smile the whole time we're together though, so don't get me wrong. That would be my main
Yeah.
question.
I mean, I also look at the steps of those, like you're 25, 26 at this point, and it feels like you're just booking everything that you're asking for.
Oh no, no,
But
definitely.
you know when you see people and you're like, oh, Vena's just had a charmed life. She hasn't stopped working from the
Oh,
day
oh my
she
God.
touched down on Canada.
Oh God, wouldn't that be lovely? No, I'd gone months and months and months all the time without work. So, but what I also started to doing is spinning it so that actors tend nowadays to say, well, I haven't worked in months, meaning I haven't booked a paying TV or film
Yeah,
or theater job. And I stopped saying it like that because I was working all the time on stage, not being paid, but I was exercising my stuff. I was performing in front of an audience. So I stopped choosing to say I haven't worked because I didn't like it that it only counted if it was
Yeah,
this.
right. Yeah,
I
that's good.
didn't like that. And
I
I
think that's
don't.
really smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we don't give ourselves enough credit. It takes a lot more skill to go out on a stage when I see some people's improv or sketch comedy or doing theater. It takes so much more to do that than to book bartender number four on a TV show and say, "Oh, now I'm working."
Right.
Yeah, right. And I know you also said to me, I don't know, I think it was probably 2 years ago now, when you were like, I'm getting more work now as a woman my age than I've ever gotten
Did you feel
before.
like a tipping point, Vina?
Well, the pandemic changed everything.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, this whole Black Lives Matter movement meant that people who looked like me were all of a sudden seen in a new way. And yeah, I started booking a lot more. I honestly was trained to believe once you hit your 40s, it's going to be like, that's
Yeah, find
it.
something else to do.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
wanted to not buy into that, but I wasn't necessarily any proof that it was not happening. I wasn't working that much. Once in a while, I'd get a nice booking once in a while, but it wasn't like, oh, 40, here we go. And then the Black Lives Matter movement happened, and all of a sudden it was very good. All the None of the streamers wanted to appear racist, and it's been really
I
great.
mean, I think people would consider you a trailblazer with that kind of movement as well, just because maybe because of the training you had with Loose Moose and not actually seeing yourself as anything different, that this is just playing interesting roles. But have you noticed a change in the representation? Have you noticed like a shift in the voices that we get to hear?
Yeah, I see it a lot now. In fact, I feel for a lot of the people who are non-color people now because they've worked so hard equally as much and are struggling to, get agents like the younger students. Sometimes I teach improv and I see young students and they're if you are Black, East Indian, Asian, whatever, you'll have a lot more chances of right now getting representation and maybe
Mm.
getting an audition than someone might be who's white and blonde.
Well, it's a balance though, Vina. It
Yeah,
was a long
it's
time
got
coming.
to be a bit. I think for the first 2 or 3 years of the pandemic, it swung really far
Yeah.
in another direction, and now it's coming back to
Yeah.
a balance, as you say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I think there's still some work to be done to balance that out though. Like I still, I see when people are like, "Oh, we want to see more women and people of color in shows." And then I see like bulletin boards full of like shows with white dudes and I'm like, "That's not what I thought we were doing something together. I thought we were working on something together."
yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings, I think there's one scene that meets the Bechdel scale. It's where one woman
Really.
passes her child a bowl of porridge. It's like 2 seconds.
Right.
2 seconds.
Well, I have to say, I think a lot of what has helped me is my dad had a really great attitude towards racism. Um, like for example, this would illuminate his attitude. We came home from school one day. I think it was my sister and I. We were crying. The kids had called us Packy. We were crying, like, oh, they're calling us Packy. We didn't really kind of understand it. We just knew it was derogatory and we were being mocked. And my dad said to us, do they even know what they are saying when they call you Packy? And he said, you tell them that the word Packy means pure and clean. And the word Stan means land. So Pakistan is land of pure and clean. So when they call you Packy, they're calling you pure and clean. So you just say thank you.
Yes.
So he
That's
changed.
awesome.
I mean, he didn't mention that we're not even Pakistani.
Right. Right. Right.
Beside the point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but for the purposes of us surviving that kind of attitudes, it
Yeah.
was very useful to go, oh, we don't have to be angry and have a chip on our shoulder and F you. We can have another way of.
Yeah.
And so I never grew up thinking we were wrong or different.
Mm.
And I think if you don't have that on the inside, you won't manifest it on the outside.
I think that goes for so much.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like that speaks volumes to me, just thinking about what my goals are on the outside and how do I don't know, like nurture that quality within me so that I'm not just physically doing things, you know?
Yeah, you're right, Naomi. Like if you align what the inner world has to be, it'll naturally align, as you guys were talking about like earlier, the universe will conspire to give you the gift of it all lining up on the outside.
Yeah.
I love that you have never taken on other people's bullshit. You know, oh, that's what you want to think. That's your deal. That's not my deal. And
Yeah,
then
there's a lot of very angry people out there, and I don't want to, that's not who I can be.
no,
And it's not fun.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not fun for us. Like, I mean, some people I'm motivated, but I'm not led by it. Do you know? Like when I get angry about things, I'm not a person to let it defeat me. I actually find it be like, all right, let's get to work. Let's roll. Like with Trump's election, I just go, let's just get to work. Like I'm not happy. I'm like, I definitely had a morning
Yeah.
of mourning, but then I
Yeah.
was like, let's roll up your sleeves and get to work. Like what other choices do we have?
Well,
Shine.
and Naomi, that's illuminated in you're putting this whole firecracker department together. Like that just represents everything you just said.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I mean, again, like we do these things together, right? Like no movement was done by one single person.
Right. Well,
So
happy to be a part of this.
yeah, we're thrilled. I mean, I could talk to you all day about your journey and how you've gotten to where you are because I think I think you have shifted the tides, like just with your art, which is an extraordinary thing to sort of step back and say, like, without standing on a podium, without standing on an apple box and being like, do soapbox, you're actually changing things by your comedy, by your art.
Well, and I think it's nice. Well, thank you. And you don't wake up every morning going, what will I do today to change the world? And how can I make a difference? I just kind of, I'd say for most of it, it's just how do I survive? How do I, okay, I can make $200 here and $100 there, and you just survive and say yes to a lot of opportunities that you're not sure where they're going to go, and it eventually can work out. But God knows I didn't set out to make a big splash like that. I just was trying to get a job.
I think too the deeper thing here too though is Veena is the way you've done it. So it's not like I haven't had a job in months. It's like, all right, well, I'm working because I'm on the stage and I'm working on my craft. So just that mindset of how you approach that, which is what Naomi's saying too about us getting to work is we just got to keep, like you can make that $200, but how do you do it with your spirit? How do you show up? Do you do it with kindness and light, or do you complain about it? Is everything hard? And so
I'm good at that. Oh, talk to my wife. I'm really good at that.
Wait, I want to know about Jill. How long have you and Jill been married?
Oh, we've been married since 2008 because that's it didn't become legal till 2006. But
I'm so sorry about that. That's just the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah, Naomi, how could you?
Yeah, it was weird.
I blame myself. I take it upon my.
Yeah, Naomi. Jesus.
Naomi. I'm glad you got it together.
No, I mean, I love your love. It's really beautiful.
Great. Yeah, I feel very lucky. Oh my God. But yeah, when Jill and I met. She used to hire, I had this all-female improv group named Lipstick that a lot of the women in it you would know about, or you know.
Mhm.
But anyway, Jill would hire us to entertain at this place, this community place she used to work. And I knew she was pretty openly gay, and I knew her, and she was in a relationship. She and her partner owned a home together. So to me, she was obviously very committed. But I always just think, God, I wish I could meet somebody like Jill. To meet Jill, and I always found her incredibly attractive, and she was very comfortable, and she'd come over and chat and put her arm around me like a friend, and I'd be like, oh my God.
Jody who?
Yeah.
Right?
And then I heard Jill and her partner had broken up, and then Jill and I started connecting online on just back then it was just email, and we'd go for coffee, and then it became go for wine, and started dating. We dated for 3 years, and then we moved in together, and gay marriage was still not legal, but we hung in there, and then we thought, now it's legal. Let's do this. And we had a wedding on the beach. It was great.
Of course.
She told me that right away she thought you were so hot.
Well, the feeling was mutual.
Veena was so hot. She was just so hot. I just thought she was so hot. I love that.
And now we don't feel like that word hot. I miss that feeling, like when you get older, I miss that edge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt, my husband and I were doing this show right now. So we have a scene where we replay how we met. So every night I get to fall in love with them again, which is really lovely.
Matt, your husband?
Matt's my husband.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Congratulations, because I'm hearing great things about the show. I really wish I could see it.
Oh,
You
thank
bring
you.
it here. Bring it to Vancouver.
Yes.
I mean, it's not about this, but thank you. It's absolutely not.
Here.
I did not know. Now that's great to know.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I know that feeling of like that kind of like spark of like looking at each other for the first time and being like, oh, it's you. Oh, that's not just you, it's you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, with having been together now over 20 years, there's a whole new wonderful level of intimacy that
Sure.
comes with that history. So yeah.
Well, I have to ask you one thing, and then we're gonna wrap up with some firecracker questions that I'd love to pose to both of you. Because I'd love to have some insight. But my last question for you, Veena, and then Jody, if you have a final question, you please ask away. But my question is, has your vision of what success is, has that changed from when you started when you had that calling at 14 to where you are right now?
Yeah, for sure. 14, I wanted to be famous and win an Oscar. And of course, I'm sure every young actor thinks that would be for sure. You can't get to any destination without the journey. It's the journey. That's the payoff. The journey is the payoff. There's no, I've been blessed with some beautiful opportunities, but honestly, it was the destination more than any other. Or sorry, the journey more than the destination.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Jody, do you have any final questions before we go to the
I forgot to ask about the life game, but I'm not sure.
I'd love to hear about the life game. Just let's squeeze it in. The editors will kill me, but I want to hear about it.
It was Keith Johnstone's favorite format that he created before he passed. And it's basically a format where you have an interviewer and a guest from the audience, talk show style. You interview the guest and you reenact scenes from their life. The differences between what we've seen in improv shows with that and what Keith did is you really go beneath the surface. So it's not necessarily an evening of just comedy. There's questions that are like, what was it like when your father died? In the bedroom when you grew up, when you were little, show us where the monsters lived. You knew you were different from the others. What was different? Like questions that you would never ask. We don't care what's your favorite ice cream and all of that. And the more invasive the more that the guest trusts us and know we're not going to damage them by the kind of scenes we do, the more invasive we can become with our questions. It's kind of like reality theater.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a memory from one of the life game shows that sticks with you?
Yeah, the life game scenes, most improv, when you leave the theater, we've had a good time, we've laughed, but the content is quickly forgotten. The life game, they stay with you, they haunt you. One guest we had recently been was a non-binary person who was transitioning. And so we had a scene where two angels are in heaven and issuing the gender assignment. Pink card, blue card, pink card to this baby, blue card to that baby. And then the angels realize, oh my God, we made a mistake. We gave what we should have been a blue baby. We gave them a pink card. We screwed up. Shit, shit, shit. So we asked the guest, would you play God and tell the angels in heaven they screwed this one up? So the angels had to go to God, our guest, and say, God, we really screwed this one up. We gave the wrong assignment to the wrong baby. And so the guest, playing God, fired them. And the guest was just so
Victorious.
Yeah.
victorious and resolved, and something changed in the guest.
Yeah.
To fire these two angels who fucked up that life in front of an audience, and the audience just erupted.
Wow. Beautiful. Amazing. Life-changing.
Life-changing.
Yeah, we involved the guest. And another guest, he kept talking. All his stories were like, well, I was really hungover when this story happened, or I was really drunk when this happened. So it was a pattern of drinking. So we had a scene between the guest's liver and the guest. And basically the liver was like, dude, please, could you just, the liver was saying, "Could you just drink a glass of water once in a while, please."
Changed his life too.
So that's the nature of that format.
That's amazing.
All right, I'm going to have obviously further discussions with you because this is just so I could really talk about improv with you all day, and with you too,
yeah,
Jody. It's so fun.
I know.
The best. Okay, I have a couple of firecracker questions, and we'll go back and forth a little bit. So fill in the blank, Veena. So fill in the blank. To me, a firecracker is
Erupting, sparkly, and loud.
Jody. What would you say?
I loved what Veena's speech gave at when she received the award, and that how it starts. It's actually the embers that rebuild life. The firecrackers, right? They start fires, which burns ground, which makes space for us firecrackers. I thought that was really beautiful.
We're going to post that speech because people have spoken about it since the day that you accepted the award, and it was really, really beautiful.
And just to give credit for some of the assistance for that speech came from Diana Francis.
She's a great writer.
She's
a fantastic writer. I love Diana Francis. What do you want to be best known for? Jody.
Helping people through their dark times with my music.
Veena.
Beautiful answer. Making a difference through the roles that I can play, hopefully touching somebody in their heart in a way that made a difference in their life.
I love it.
Naomi?
Oh, me? What do I want to be best known for? Laughs, just having some good laughs.
I know that too.
It's my favorite thing if somebody was like, oh my gosh, I saw that commercial. I know it's just a commercial, but it made me laugh. I'm like, what are you talking about? I love my job so much. And to know that hit somebody, it's my favorite thing.
I sent you a fan mail after seeing you in a commercial. I was like, who is that? Then you showed up my Facebook feed because you were, we've Second City in common. And I was like, of course she's Second City. And then you never got the fan mail, but from a commercial you did, I was like, who is that? And sent fan mail.
Goodness.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And look at us now.
I know.
Forever friends.
I love it.
What's been your favorite mistake and what did you learn from it?
Oh, there's so many.
Just the one that pops into your mind first.
I
had contraceptive issues and now I have 2 children.
A pretty good outcome.
Kinds of contraceptive issues that have now changed my life, and I've learned so much, and I'm so thankful for it.
That's a good one. What's something that you haven't done but you know you want to do?
I'd like to have a bigger part in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done that yet, but who doesn't want that?
Sing in public.
Oh, let's do that. I can help you with that. Let's do that.
Like the fantasy job is the rock star.
That's a good
I
thing.
mean, you might have just put it out into the ether there. Hear that, universe?
Vibrationally lining up.
Who's somebody in your world that's a firecracker we can shine a light on?
My mom.
Your mom is extraordinary. What a gift to have her at that party.
she loved it. She was saying, everyone's so friendly. She was so overwhelmed with it. Her hearing isn't great, so she wasn't able to hear a lot of the speeches and stuff, but she loved the vibe. She's very spiritually tuned in, so she heard everything on some level.
Yeah, she's so lovely.
Very special for her to be there.
Yeah, I like Sarah Angel. She's a Vancouver up-and-comer. She's like producing and acting, and she actually was just chosen to have some of her stuff fleshed out through Crave. I think Crave's got like a development program, so she's got three projects. But I met her in a screenwriting class, and right away I was like, "You're weird. I really like it."
Yeah. I get
And
it.
she's just kicking butt. And so I just want to cheer her. I mean, there's so many amazing women.
I know there's
that
so
now have
many.
the platform that we get to support grow, which is great.
That's why we'll do this podcast forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't run out. So many talented
What makes you
firefighters.
feel powerful?
A good hike,
Mm.
Yeah.
singing for a lot of people, making people laugh. Improvising is amazing, right? That's incredible power.
Holy moly, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything Jody said.
Ditto. My final question is advice to your younger self. If you had talked to that 14-year-old that had that calling.
Treat your body with respect
Mm.
and don't try so hard.
Yes.
Don't need to try so
Right.
hard.
Yeah. Jody?
I would say it's from Veena's earlier advice, which is as much as you want the accolades, it's actually all the things you get to do on the way to wherever you're going. Don't forget to enjoy that, because that's literally what the thing is. You get to do the thing. So.
Yeah. We're so lucky. I feel so lucky to have this time with you both. It's so special to me.
You too. Thanks for having me.
We're so lucky. Oh, like we live in
What a
Canada.
life.
Look what we do. We hit
Yeah.
the lottery, guys. We really
We
did.
really did. We really did. If folks want to find out more about you and what your projects are, Veena or Jody, where do people go?
JodyQuine.com, but I'm really active on Instagram these days at Jody Quine. Yep.
Yes, you sure are. And Veena, what about you?
Same thing, VeenaSood.com.
It'd be
or
really weird if you said same thing, JodyQuine.com. Like, why are you all over her website?
if we go on a
I
hike
really like
together,
Veena.
yeah, I might be there. And Veena Sood on Instagram at
Fantastic.
Veena_Sood.
Yeah, thank you a million. Thank you both for being the artists you are, for leading through your art, and for this discussion. It's been real lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Veena. Thanks so
Thanks.
much.
Thanks, Jody. Thanks, Naomi.
Yeah.
Mwah.
Thanks for
Thanks.
the love cuts. Mwah, mwah.
Now, if it sounds like we're having a really good time, I mean, we really are, but if you want to see it with your own eyes, go to our YouTube channel at Firecracker DEPT. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, do all the things you do. And you're going to catch some of our favorite moments with our guests. Don't forget to go on over to our website, firecrackerdepartment.com, to check out all the events, all the departments, all the firecracker things that are happening, and get involved. There's always room for you at the firecracker table, so just pull up a chair. While you're at our website, why not subscribe to our newsletter? It's the best way to keep in touch with all the things that are happening. I promise you, we don't send too many newsletters out, but we just keep you in touch. Thank you so much to the entire podcast team. That's Pau Carranza, Jen Rowley, Rebecca Gismondi, Aislinn Paul, Angela Ray Murdoch, Jody Quine, who also does our websites. Thank you very much. And of course, our actioneers, Pau Carranza and Veronica Martin.